That's a pretty tight spot.
Watch this.
Of course your Buick parks itself. That's so you.
It's just up here on the right.
Of course you know where we're going. That's so you.
Kinda got a sixth sense.
And a head-up display.
They're here.
Hit the field, warm up. You brought all these players in your Buick?
Yeah.
So you.
It is.
There's a Buick that fits your life, because at the heart of every Buick SUV is you.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him.
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplified Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplified Development Services.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
Now, you can't live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend, made with onions, peppers, ground mushrooms, pink salt, and other spices. Texas Cowboy Dust also goes great with chicken, pork, vegetables, and adds a restaurant-quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Vanilla smoked sea salt seasoning is for seafood. The tarragon and fennel bring out the natural sweetness in seafood. I also use it in rice dishes, on yams, asparagus, blueberry pancakes, and believe it or not, chocolate chip cookies. Vanilla smoked sea salt adds a salty and savory component to sweet dishes that create a symphony for the tongue.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em! It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm.
Hello, cream bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
Bounty versus the old family dish towel. Drying with a fresh sheet of Bounty leaves your hands cleaner than a used dish towel that can carry and redistribute food residue. So ditch the dish towel for better hand hygiene. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
One bite of 100% Angus beef ballpark frank, and you'll say, hello, summer. Oh yeah, it's ballpark season.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention.
This is Dr. Ville with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Welcome to episode 293 of Inside the HBCU, episode 295 it is. Man, we're moving forward.
Yeah.
The Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. I'm a week behind. The show that's covering the sporting HBCU all things HBCU sports, from institutions large and small, from the NIA to the NCAA, insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta, along with my co-host Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. As you see, Mike Washington's out on assignment, but we should have a good interview for you today. So we're going to try to get you the information that you want. We should have Curtis Symons, HBCU Go TV on. So we get a little in-depth knowledge, hopefully, on what took place and share a little bit of history with you in terms of his path and how all that came together. With that, we're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live with our KCUH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, and a beautiful home at Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that, Charles, I see you have your I Believe shirt on with your jacket. It must be a special occasion. How you doing today?
Doing well, Doc. It is right up on us. It is week 0 coming up this weekend, so I'm looking forward to it. We got football. We got national band competitions. The season is here. I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah, it is that time. It is that time. I have to bring some more information. I'd be remiss if I did not take this time to honor former Texas Southern athlete Charlie Frazier, who passed away at 83. He was an NFL wide receiver here with the Houston Oilers, and it takes Ralph Cooper to tell his story. He actually ran track and field at Texas Southern University. Didn't play for the football team with the talent they had. He went over with a friend to the Oilers during their tryout to support him. And the guy out there, the time that they were doing it, and asked him, did he plays and all, asked him what he did. He said he ran track and field and asked him his time. Next thing you know, he had a suiting up for too long. He made the team and had a contract. But there's very few opportunities where you get to come across, an elder, now an ancestor, obviously then an elder, that for whatever reason just shared life experiences with you and connected with you because of who you are and the connection you had. And had such a warm heart, as the Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper would talk about, is you never seen a frown on his face. He always smiled. And so rest in power, Charlie Frazier. And just wanted to give you opportunity. I know you met him as well. If you wanted to share any thoughts about the legend in regards to certainly in this area, in this part, I'll give that to you now.
No doubt about it. I mean, you talk about a true gentleman, always very gracious in terms of his time that he spent with me. Like you said, it takes Ralph Cooper to tell those stories, those great stories of yesteryear in terms of an athlete just showing up at a Houston Oilers tryout and all of a sudden he's on the team. It tells you how special an athlete he was. There is a tremendous footage of him catching a touchdown pass on the HBCU Sports. Kudos to Jared Hoffman for the article that was written on Mr. Frazier. But Mr. Frazier, just a true gentleman. And I really did cherish an opportunity to not only meet him, but to interact with him on several occasions back at the old radio station.
Yeah, big heart, big guy. part of that Flying Tigers, as you talk about that, which is amazing. Hall of Fame Clyde Duncan in there. I mean, they were picking them up, putting them down, running terrific times. His personal best time included 9.4 finish in the 100-yard dash, and the time clocked at 20.8 in the 220-yard dash. The man could fly.
Yes, indeed.
Would say, the boy could fly. Frazier eventually, as a transition to the American Football League, where he came on as an undrafted free agent with the Houston Oilers, and the rest is legacy and history. Rest in power, Charlie Frazier.
Yes, sir.
So I wanted to get that out there and pay homage to him. But on the other side, I did want to go to you for some news of the day. I want to see what direction you go in. Quite a bit out there on the ticket. What's on your mind in terms of what's going out there in terms of the news of the day, Charlie?
Well, let's start off. Big news coming from Alabama A&M is they named their new athletic director. It is Paul Bryant, who will be coming to Alabama A&M from Edward Waters. Of course, A.D. Bryant, no stranger to the SWAC because he was at Grambling, but he's coming back to the SWAC, Alabama A&M. So kudos to the Alabama A&M Bulldog family in terms of naming Paul Bryant their new athletic director.
Yeah. Paul Bryant, as you said, most recently at Edward Waters, who won the Black College Baseball Tournament. Before that, he was at Grambling. So he really put it on display during his during his press conference, I should say. So it's going to be fascinating to see what he can do. As he's experienced a lot of growth at Edward Waters, a new football facility, obviously updates to the locker room, recreational weight center that went with athletics and the institutions. A lot of partnerships that he got done there with the university and the city. So it'll be interesting, can he use some of that experience in regards to what he could do with Alabama A&M in Huntsville in terms of the city there, Madison, and the extended areas around Normal in terms of Huntsville, Alabama, and Normal, Alabama with Alabama A&M University. So I'm fascinated to see what he gets done there. As he continues to move on with that legacy. Interesting in a lot of ways there. The other news is out there is MEAC Commissioner Steels to speak at eSports Next Conference from the MEAC.com. MEAC Commissioner Sonny Steels will be a speaker at the 2022 eSports Next Conference. A lot of that was before she became commissioner as one of the top associate commissioners. Previously, she was responsible for pushing forward esports as it was connected with the MEAC. So it doesn't surprise me that she's going to be involved with this. With that being said, it's going to be interesting to see how she maneuvers, and do we see any more of the MEAC even pushing even further with esports. But the conference is powered by Morgan Stanley, which is being held Monday and Tuesday at the Hyatt Centric Chicago Magnificent Mile. Steels will speak on the Game for Everyone panel on Tuesday at 2 p.m., 1 p.m. Central. Gaming for Everyone, powered by the Gamers, HERS, purposely talking about the women associated with esports. Is fascinating to see what that looks like. We'll focus on how identity, support, and advocate for the underrepresented groups in esports. Vertnam Maloney, co-founder and chief innovation officer of HERS, will moderate the panel. Steels will be joined by Jean Reed Richardson, president and CEO of iFolio, Ryan Johnson, founder and CEO of Community, and that's Community with the X, Lindsay Poss, executive producer of Women in Gaming, lead for Holodeck Media. For more information, you can check out 2022 Esports Next Conference for those that are interested in that. And there's still a lot of people that are getting in this e-gaming. Obviously, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about Benedict, what they're doing with their program, and both partnering academically. Recently, I had a colleague, Dr. Carter Franzique. She's been on this show before. She was named as the dean over there in the college of education. So I got an opportunity to talk to her about esports and where they're going with their program. So look for them to continue to move forward. So it's interesting to see HBCUs getting into esports. Any thoughts on that, Joe?
I mean, esports is huge. You start seeing esports labs being created all over HBCUs, and I don't know. I just kind of take a look back at it now. From my days of playing all those games in the dorm in college, and now you see where esports has gone to, and it's really taken off. It is huge. I marvel at my nephews. They sit around and they watch live streaming of esports games. So it is a very, very huge thing that you take a look at, and it is just at the tip of the iceberg, if you will, in terms of where esports is going. All those guys that put all that time in on Madden, it means something now. So.
Man, you sound a little jealous. Like
I am, man. I still got my old college football game back there, man. I still play it, and I still play Madden to this day. I'm probably going to go down playing Madden. So I tell you, I still have so much fun in terms of esports and things of that nature. But to see where it is taken off and to see these esports teams now that are representing the various colleges and universities, it's tremendous to watch the growth of it.
Yes, we have Brother Hillman Frazier representing out here, the legislative body of Mississippi.
Yes, indeed.
Yep, David Barnett. Leonard Blow is in here. So I'm here present for class with homework completed, repping Norfolk State. Hashtag behold the green and gold. Hashtag Spartan Nation. I like that. Mary Allen says, hello, everyone. Anthony Weston. Which stations will be SWAC MEAC Challenge be televised, just one or more? The MEAC SWAC Challenge is an event that is part of the ESPN group. So it's my understanding it will be on ESPN versus HBCU Go, if that's the other component that you're referencing. So the SWAC MEAC Challenge, interesting, he said SWAC MEAC Challenge, not MEAC SWAC Challenge. I wonder if he's trying to tell us something with that. Again, will be a part of ESPN, so that's interesting there. Let me go to a break after I get some of these folks here, and we'll see about what's going on there as we get into it a little bit. We might go to a little break there early. Let me shout out Noel Price before we do that. William B.J. Levette II. Chuck Hunt, always in the building. Jerome G. Sutton. Who else we got? Chad Cooper's in here. Go Jags. Hashtag spot the ball. Hashtag Dooley error. You can't use the same hashtag that was at Prairie. Y'all got to get it done. Willie Alex Hine. Good evening, everyone. The CIAA checking in the before church. I do like hashtag Dooley error. Donald Crawford. Swarm as one. See, they came up with a unique one. That's Alabama State. I like that.
I like that.
The MEAC commissioner needs to be in the kitchen frying some chicken. Oh, man, we can't get down like that. You can't disparage women. You got to come out with some better talk than that. Jerome G. Sutton this season will be a long journey. I'm ready for it. George Suggs, Nate Kennedy, Willie Alex Hines, Emma Price, G. Boom Holly, Anthony Weston says, oh, what's going on? Let me take a break and we'll get into it. Before we take that break, any last news that you wanted to share before we get into this break, Charles?
Yeah, I wanted to say kudos to Kyrie Lyles. Great article on HBCU Game Day. Alexis Neely put that out there for them. But Kyrie Lyles, he's going to be a production assistant working with Kurt Warner over at the NFL Network, former quarterback at Jackson State. So kudos to post-playing career with Kyrie Lyles.
Cool. With that, stick with us. We'll be right back after this first break. This is Dr. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Fisher. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on?
Sure, it's wireless.
Pick something we all like. Okay, hold on.
What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password? Buick Envision 2021.
Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable.
That's a really tight spot. Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking.
Me too.
Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon. So now she's free to become Maureen the Merrier. Food is her love language, and she really loves her grandson. Like, really loves.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember they can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft.
Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more, but it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go, why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
This is Brian Fulford. A.B. Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Lab. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Lab, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
That's a pretty tight spot.
Watch this.
Of course your Buick parks itself. That's so you.
It's just up here on the right.
Of course you know where we're going. That's so you.
Kinda got a sixth sense.
And a head-up display.
They're here.
Hit the field, warm up. You brought all these players in your Buick?
Yeah,
So you.
it is.
There's a Buick that fits your life because at the heart of every Buick SUV is you.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him.
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplified Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplified Development Services.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna loud, yeah, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside HBCU Sports Lab. We have with us today the B+C Hall of Fame. For those that may not realize, that is the broadcasting cable. We got a Hall of Famer. He is also the co-founder and CEO of HBCU Go. That is Curtis Symons, a native of Bermuda, an alumni of Central State University. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, Dr. Kenyatta. Good to see you back, man. It's been a while, man. You know, I always enjoy our conversations, my brother.
No doubt about it. Charles, we're going to take this back a little bit before we get into this. So we're going to do a little extended interview. Hopefully we can really provide some foundation for those, because there's a lot of questions out there about broadcasting, cable, network, all that information. And you have a lifetime experience in that field in many different capacities, literally helping to build a $1 billion industry, I would say twice over.
Yeah.
A lot of people realize from BET where you really took the groundwork, but people don't realize there was a start with ESPN. So last week we discussed Byron Allen, HBCU Go, announced that football schedule media mogul Byron Allen and his HBCU Go streaming service will be broadcast football games featuring squads this fall. Also CIAA. Can't get too far ahead of ourselves. Don't be surprised if there's some other HBCU conferences in the work. I'll just kind of throw that aside. You can decide, no doubt. But think about this for those that may not realize this. And if you don't believe me, go Google it, as they say, young folks. From 1980 through to 2000, Simon was instrumental in steering ad sales and marketing fortunes for ESPN and BET, ultimately rising in the organization to become executive vice president of affiliation, distribution, and marketing for BET Holdings, Inc. from 1988 to 2001. This is when BET shot to the stratosphere, if you would, in a lot of ways. And part of his release, among other things that BET, because they were all involved in that, is what many people harken back to this day when BET was broadcasting HBCU football games.
Yes.
You're looking with it. I got a chance to cross paths and intermingle with a lot of folks that put in the groundwork, the broadcasting, cable work that you work hands-on to get in some of those stories about how y'all got feeds and things done, because things were not as modernized as they are now.
No,
it's fascinating when you hear those stories.
You're right.
Tell me a quick one. Tell me a quick one if you can.
Well, I tell you the one that really was my first education when I came into BT. You know, we were doing games 2 weeks, tape delayed 2 weeks games. And coming from ESPN Live Football, I was shocked. I was like, who's watching football sports 2 weeks later when you already know the results? So I finally convinced Bob to do live television after being on with him for about 6-7 months. And we had a Grambling game. And Eddie was still alive at the time. And Eddie did not play about coming into Grambling without him not knowing what you're doing. And we had gotten an agreement from the SWAC to do the game at Grambling. We roll them on the trucks on Friday. Eddie's having practice. He stops practice talking about, what are these trucks doing out here? We were here to do your game. No, you're not doing my game on here. You can't do no game on here unless I approve it. And I'm like, Mr. Robinson, no disrespect here, but the SWAC gave us, the SWAC can't give you no approval to be on my yard. That's me. So we sat there and went through it with Eddie for about a good 3 or 4 hours. I'm calling the world now, trying to figure out, we're supposed to be doing a live game on Saturday. I'm in Louisiana trying to figure out how to do a game. I called over to Southern and said, listen, luckily Southern had a home game. I said, look, we got to find a game. Can we come over there? And luckily we were able to get bailed out over at Southern to get a game on, but I'm telling you, Eddie was flat out no, and no. Pack your stuff up today. Don't even come in and think about putting your stuff on my field. That was my first rude awakening to black college sports, and live.
So with that being said, you got to write your own book. Is it true that you were part of the group that convinced Bob Johnson, as you talked about investing $1 million into doing these games that you mentioned earlier?
Well, yes and no. I was part of the team. There was a team that put that together. It was myself, Jeff Lee, who was executive vice president of programming at the time, James Ebron, who was also selling advertising. We were able to convince him that it was time for us to do live sports. And the respect I had with the BET shop coming out of the ESPN house, everybody was kind of writing my coattail about the idea of doing live sports. So we were able to take that jump. We were ahead of our time. We were ahead of our time when we came out and tried to do it, because the advertising community has not changed much as it is today as it was back then. They did not really want to support black college sports. That's been the dilemma of black college sports across the board. And PWIs, they got no problem in putting that dollar sign, if it's McDonald's, if it's, Kroger's, if it's whoever it might be, they're going to spend that money. But with us, it's like, no, we're just going to put a couple pennies out here, let them be happy. And that's how it was. And so we never got the advertising support to really drive the games like this should have been, compared to, as you see today, the $1 billion deal that ESPN just lost with the 3 networks, Fox and others, are doing stuff with the Big Ten, and I think that, the advertising support back then is what drove Bob out of it. We were losing money, big money, because you producing your own show here. It ain't some change, and you're always looking for sponsors to cover your nut. And if you don't have that to cover your nut, you start looking at them losses, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, I'm spending this kind of dollars to produce a game, and I'm only getting this return. No, this is not good math here, And so that's what really kind of drove BET out of the business, because it wasn't really beneficial for us cost-wise. And that time, back in that day, there wasn't the technology there is today that you could have figured out to kind of minimize some of your costs. We're taking live cameras in. Today, you can take 1 or 2 cameras in and remote it and do all kind of stuff. Get a fly pack and boom, boom, boom. You can figure some ways to make it look decent, at the end of the day, and not cost you an arm and a leg. So, that was a move that we were way ahead of our time. But it was a move I regretted because we lost Black college sports. And I remember I had left BET at the time, and at 01, and ESPN hired me as a consultant. And they didn't know what to do. They did not know what to do. At that time, Mark Shapiro was the programming guy. George Bohannon was my buddy. He was also chairman of the network. So they were like, Curtis, what should we do with Black college sports? No one's doing anything. I said, man, you should try to get your foot in the door. And that's really how they began to get their foot in the door on that thing. At that time, no one was doing anything with Black college sports. So what was Conference supposed to do? They're supposed to jump in if they can get a chance to get a bite. Why not? They should, But I think now what has evolved is that, the conferences have gotten smart now, got smarter, put it that way. And I think that, unfortunately for all of us, the George Floyd situation changed the world. It now made HBCUs be more of we should do the right thing and quit throwing crumbs at them. And now let's really get out here. And then you bring in people like Deion, Hugh Jackson, Eddie George, and now we're attracting more and more ex-NFL guys who are walking in and saying, this brand needs more support. And we're not going to walk away from it anymore. We're going to help drive that. And that's really where Byron Allen is with Allen Media Group, is that we want to help give HBCU schools the right exposure. That's the real thing about HBCU Go Network. The network was driven on the grind that we want to uplift the 105/107 historical Black colleges to the point that people get educated on what came out of it and what's there now. I'm sick and tired, Charles and Dr. Kenyatta, of Black kids saying, I can't go to a Black school. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? It's the best education in the world. It's the only place that you can go to and the president knows your name as soon as you walk in the door. You don't get that at a PWI, nor do you get the bonding and the commodity that you get with the other folks that you know and live with. But the thing is, what we've got to do and what we're trying to do now is help the educators at these Black colleges understand the strength of sports. The strength of sports is a drive. And yes, we want to have accredited schools, no question about it. But let's get smart in the business side of the game. The business side is sports, athletics.
Curtis, I want to ask you a little bit more about the business side because I want to allow Charles to jump in and ask some questions. But you talk a little bit about that experience about BET and ESPN getting in business. I know one time we were discussing, and there's dialogue out there about this exclusionary contract. Talk a little bit about the exclusionary contract, the challenge of that, and how that existed and how, because of your relation with ESPN, how you were able to buy secondary rights back from ESPN in a lot of ways.
Well, I give a lot of the credit in our swag deal to Charles McClellan. Charles is a very astute commissioner. He realized that he's got a very good product, and that one that, you can no longer overlook. And so, the contract with ESPN that he had, he knows, and ESPN knows that it was done way before their time. Even the people at ESPN was done way before their time. And it was a take the jail type contract where your hands are handcuffed. And Charles was smart enough to say, listen, you can't continue to warehouse everything we have here, and it's not being shown. Give me an opportunity to make some additional dollars here, if that's the case. So once you make your pick, at least allow us to do something with the remainder of the game instead of just letting them sit on the sideline here and no one sees it. Or you're allowing our schools to locally show them, but they're only being shown in the local market. Why can't I get national exposure? And so the one thing that, I echo the charge, we first started talking, I said, when I was with ESPN and the NFL deal, when ABC, CBS, and NBC had the deal, and we were, at that time, ESPN was just coming around the corner. And when we walked in, and we just said, listen, let them pick their games. There's going to be some games left here, and whatever's left, give them to them. We'll give you a price. And so they gave us those games. Now, what the difference between the broadcast guys at the time and ESPN, they didn't realize the marketing animal ESPN had behind it to start really pushing these games out. And then what happened was the games which they thought were going to be dog games turned out to be great games. Mm-hmm. And before they know it, they were doing better ratings. We were doing better ratings than the broadcast guys. And so the league started saying, well, wait a minute. They got what we thought were dog games, and they're turning these kind of ratings in. And to today's world, still is, everybody's caught up in impressions and CPMs. And they were like, well, these guys are driving some great CPMs, some great impressions. Maybe we need to get them a little bit more bite at the apple. And then slowly, we started getting a little bit more bite at the apple. We get a little bit more sub feeds from the cable operators. And then ESPN came back in with the Walk and said, you know what? They teamed up with ABC and said, now we coming in with the hammer. Here's what we want. Wow. And boom, there it was. There it was right there.
Well, let's take our first break. We'll come back on the other side. I'm going to let Charles jump in here. I know he has a couple of questions.
No problem.
We'll follow up. This is great information. We're really taking us behind the scene to understand a little more about that. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break as we have Mr. Curtis Symons of HBCU Go. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
Now, you can't live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend, made with onions, peppers, ground mushrooms, pink salt, and other spices. Texas Cowboy Dust also goes great with chicken, pork, vegetables, and adds a restaurant-quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Vanilla smoked sea salt seasoning is for seafood. The tarragon and fennel bring out the natural sweetness in seafood. I also use it in rice dishes, on yams, asparagus, blueberry pancakes, and believe it or not, chocolate chip cookies. Vanilla smoked sea salt adds a salty and savory component to sweet dishes that create a symphony for the tongue.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em! It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm.
Hello, cream bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
Bounty versus the old family dish towel. Drying with a fresh sheet of Bounty leaves your hands cleaner than a used dish towel that can carry and redistribute food residue. So ditch the dish towel for better hand hygiene. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna loud, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. we have none other than Mr. Curtis Symons, that's the co-founder and CEO of HBCU Go, giving us some information and backdrop in terms of just his experience in the broadcast industry and taking a deeper dive where we get into a little more about the deal and why this is important. Let me let Charles follow up.
Sure thing. Mr. Symons, you've been at the forefront of this television industry, especially in regards to the broadcasting of HBCU games. And you touched on something that I wanted to follow up on in terms of athletics being the front door to the institution itself. And we keep saying on this program, we're in the midst of a renaissance, if you will, of athletes coming back to HBCUs. But are we at this point where our institutions understand the power of television, the power of streaming in terms of bringing their institution to the masses?
I think we're right now crawling, Charles. I think we're not there yet. You know, what we've got to work on is Deion said something when he was talking to Byron when we first started the swag deal. And he said, Byron, let me just make this real clear to you. You got to change the culture in the thinking here. He said that this is not easy. You know, this is a ripple effect. This is not a smooth effect right now. This is a ripple effect because we've got to change the culture of the educators' mindsets to understand. Now, the deal with SWAC with a Black organization like Alameda Group is big. And you can see just in the recent pop we got being on, you know, selling it in 12 markets in syndication, you know, and having it on broadcast television. This is a big step for us as far as a Black conference having that kind of, and it's free. And you go to ESPN, it's ESPN Plus, you got to pay for it. It's free now, okay? So what my job is going to be, Charles and Dr. Kenyatta, that I'm working on is I'm trying to drive butts in the seats. I don't want to see an empty stadium. I want to see a packed house stadium. I want to be marketing my butt off to try to put as many bodies in those stadiums every time we're on television. Because we got to show the excitement, man. It's a lot there, but we got to drive our students there. We got to create that entertainment value around it. I mean, it's always had a history of band sports, okay? Well, we've got to trade that environment and that culture to be able to show more of what we're doing. You know, what's happening in the pre? What are we doing in the tailgate? What are we doing after the game? What are we doing in what we call in the fifth quarter, creating the fifth quarter? So now we have a battle of the bands in the fifth quarter, you know, and now we're doing the drumline beats on that. So we can create more excitement. And now what we're trying to build with HBCU Go is that true Black destination. No longer are you having to fiddle all of the, well, what channel is that going to be on? No. You know, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, boom, here it is. You know, Albany State against FAMU, September 10th, bam, HBCU Go. And it's on HBCU Go, it's on the Griot, it's on, you know, it's on Local Now, it's on 4 or 5 different platforms underneath HBC, underneath the Alameda Group. So you're gonna have all kinds of different ways to be able to watch this network, you know, on that. And so if we can grow that excitement and and what I'm trying to also do, Charles, is got us getting, you know, more of these guys from classics to people planning out events. Why are we going over here? You're talking about you want to support the village. Why are we going over here? Why not come to us? You know, we got 34 broadcast channels that Byron owns. We're syndicating. We're putting you on digital. We're putting you on linear. Now we bought the Black News Channel, put that to the Griot network. So what are we missing here? At the end of the day, what are we missing here? We're giving you a full plethora of exposure. So if anybody with their mindset is understanding what we're trying to do here, you're like, damn, I need to jump on this. I need to jump on this platform because this is like going to dinner. I got my steak, I got my salad, I got my potatoes, I got my kid all on one plate.
Do you think that advertisers are coming on board, if you will? You mentioned earlier crumbs that was back in the day, but yes. in terms of taking a look at advertisers now.
That's the world that's very interesting, Charles. That for me, That's probably been the big kicker since I've been taken over since Byron has bought my network. You know, we came on the network in October of last year. I couldn't get an advertiser to look at HBCU Go. Within less than 2 months, between Byron out there banging on advertisers about more support on Black-owned media businesses, everybody was knocking at the door. And I'm talking about heavy knocks. Not just saying I'm gonna put a pickle out here. I'm talking about heavy knocks to where you have more and more advertisers now who want to support HBCUs. But what they're looking for is, how can I get on that campus? I need to touch that student. That's what I got to figure out for. That's what you got to help me figure out. I want to get my brand on that university. So when they wake up in the morning and they go down to wash some clothes, Clorox is right there. My brand is right there with, you know, if I'm going to the bathroom, I got some P&G product, you know, that kind of thing. You know, that's where the sponsors now are looking at, and they're trying to be more creative in figuring out ways to support HBCUs. The goal is now that we all need to do, that Byron's pushing between Black-owned media, is don't judge us by CPMs. If you truly want to get on board with us, sponsor us. Sponsor us. Don't come in, you know, don't just say, well, I gotta have a CPM. It ain't like that. You know, it ain't like that for us coming out the gates. Put a sponsorship behind. Put your money where your mouth is. If you're truly supporting Black colleges via be sports, academic, lifestyle, education, put your money where your mouth's at. Bottom line. That's where it's got.
Curtis, I wanted to go take a little deeper dive in terms of CPM, and as you alluded to, the advertisers. You know, there are a lot of folks that talk about that the deals are not very good, but talk about the challenge that you spoke about of making sure that advertisements dollars are there for the businesses that are going to make the deal with, and when I say the businesses, I'm talking about the broadcast networks, they're going to make the deal with the conferences. What is that difference when you want to compare between what I refer to as HBCUs, you know, these conferences, even if we're not talking about the biggest ones, SEC, Big Ten, we know how far that is, but even like the Sun Belt, the Conference USA, what is the challenge that you've continually seen over the years in terms of advertisement not paying the dollars necessary to the broadcast network so they can pay what is really appropriate to the conference?
Where you're going to, Dr. Kenyatta, is what we're trying to do. Lack of exposure. If you're not getting exposed out here as universities, who knows? Somebody sent me just today a documentary they put together on North Carolina A&T. It was called We Are Still, meaning they did a documentary talking about the growth of A&T football and how now, you know, Sam Washington is now the coach, but before him, the coach before him really made the change, started really getting them on the winning streak. But one piece that was mentioned in it, to your point, was when they interviewed the commissioner of the Big South, he said, I had heard of HBCUs, but I didn't really know what they were. He said, you know, we started following North Carolina A&T, but I still didn't really know what HBCUs were, okay? And that's only because we haven't been exposed out here. You know, that's the whole thing, Dr. Kenyatta. You know, why is there only one girl being drafted out of in the WNBA this year out of Black colleges? One girl. Come on, man. You're going to tell me there's no Black girl that can't play ball in a Black college that can't play a WNBA? I ran the Mystics for 2 years. I know there was girls that could play. But because of the politics in the game, and because no one really seen the girl averaging 20-some points a game, but nobody knew she didn't fit in the mix. But a girl from Duke or North Carolina show up, automatic. Don't matter. She go 8 points a game, still get a better look. Because they see it every day. So they're writing her name up every day. Oh, that's so. Where our girls show up, they're like, who is that? Where's she from? Prairie View. I ain't never really heard her. I ain't never heard about her. So how good is she? I don't know. So the more we can create the exposure, Dr. Kenyatta, to me, this SWAC deal is the first step of the conferences now looking at their true value. Now the fact that they're able to see that, I mean, we're in, our syndicated people are selling Black college sports in San Diego. Who's Black in San Diego? Sacramento. I mean, we picked up markets where I'm like, when my man was running them off them, I said, they're carrying our games. So Curtis, they were the first ones to call. Wow. So it's exposure.
Huge. It's huge.
It's huge. And so when I'm trying to convince all the conferences now, I'm like, look, I don't need all your games. I like to have them, but we can create some nice packages between all 4 conferences that could give me that plenty of having 1, 2, maybe 3 games a day, you know, and feature that. That's where I want to grow to. You know, I want to grow to where you leave a game at 1 o'clock, you got a game at 4 o'clock. You game at 4 o'clock, got a game at 8 o'clock. You know, now, again, as I was telling Charles, I was telling some of the other commissioners the other day, they got to start helping me out. You know, if I'm doing television, I come to you and you at Grambling, I'm saying, look, you got lights, let's do a night game. I can do a night game. Let's change that game from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Okay, let's do a night game. And let's work together on this. Don't sit there and tell me, I can't do it. Every other school does it. The PWIs do it every day. Okay, I can't tell you when I was at ESPN how many games we created. Said, no, we don't want to play. We don't want this game to be played there. We want to play the game at this time. They moved the game just like that. Didn't even think about it because it was ESPN in the market. Bottom line.
I want to follow a little bit about as you talk about that marketing. You know, the term was used out there, the duopoly in regards to the multiple package. Can you break down what does that mean from a television perspective?
I mean, multiple, how many games we're doing?
Yes. Well, you know how you have the syndicated and you have the duopoly in regards to the syndication rights where there are multiple tiers and things of that nature.
Yeah, well, mainly what we're doing is that with the syndicated markets, those games will air live. We're sending that feed to the market at the same time we're picking up the feed live. So they're getting it live. That game is live. So in Sacramento, if we're doing a 6 p.m. game, they're doing it at 3 p.m. on their time. They blocked off 3.5 hour block. So the game
you have these separate stations, and each of the separate stations are governed by their own metrics.
Exactly.
And they can decide individually to pick them up.
Exactly.
Versus you having this national platform such as CBS National, if you would, or ABC National.
Exactly.
ESPN
now remember,
National.
but remember, Dr. Kenyatta, just keep this in mind. To that point, they're picking up our live feed, so they're going up for our clock. They're going for our clock. Now, what they have to do on this station, remember, we have CBS own and operate. These are affiliates of CBS. This isn't a national CBS, okay? These are affiliates where, you know, Curtis Symons owns a station in Sacramento, but it's a CBS station, okay? So I have the right to do whatever I want to do with the station on the clock. Okay,
so do you buy the rights for like the CBS to have it for a local market, to put their name on it, kind of like you do with the franchise?
Yeah, they buy the rights from us. They buy the rights from us, but they're doing it. They're paying for the rights to carry our game. That's how it flows. That's how it flows on it.
Got it. Before we close up, I wanted to go back a little bit and just tease out, how did the Bahamas HBCUX Classic come to fruition? I think you told a little bit about this story, but
it was
you always seem to be on the cutting edge of looking at new opportunities.
That was one of the greatest projects at the end of the day that I'm so proud of. I think I'm so proud of it for 2 reasons. Number one, you were involved in it, you know, heavily involved in it, you know, in Texas Southern and my old schools and my school, Central State. But, you know, in putting it together, I had never put a classic totally together by myself. And I did with this one. And the grind was so interesting because it all came down to the 12th hour, as you know. You know, I mean, here you go into a completely international market who is not even set up for football. They're set up for soccer, track and field, but not American football. So here we are bringing in goalposts, bleachers, things that you think are automatic. Not to say the least, we were dealing with the director of tourism who had told us we were going to have carte blanche of the stadium. And that whole thing flipped when we got on there. You know, there was so many layers of people that we now had to go through to get things done. And everybody was trying to freeze me at the 12th hour, like, no, you can't do it this way, you can't do it that way. But luckily, some way, God blessed me that we got this thing pulled. And then what was even crazier, I telecasted, I streamed the game from the Bahamas. And we had, I brought a bunch of my old BT guys who flew in, supported me, and Dr. Kenyatta was right there with them. And they literally, Charles, put this thing together in the box, in the box as we're talking right now. That's awesome. we had this thing wide up. They were time-wise together. My guys did an incredible job, man. It was one of the greatest performances. And we put 10,000 people in the seats. It was packed. Now, if you watch the what they call the Popeye Bowl now that they run over there during the Christmas time. They can't even put half the fans in there that we put in there. Because see, we brought the local fans up in there. They don't do none of that now. But that classic, I would have loved, it was supposed to be a 3-year deal. They reneged on me, because it was more expensive than they thought it was going to be. And everybody kind of lost a little bit, including myself. But the joy of it, of putting it together and being able to bring those two universities over and be the first to make something like that happen, to me was history, was flat out.
Let me ask this question. You're always at the cutting edge of so much within this industry. What are like the emerging trends that are going to like really blow people away over the next, 4 or 5 years?
Well, I think television, as we're talking about right now, is going to change tremendously. I think you guys will play a big role in what you're doing right now. I think having your own podcast is going to be getting bigger and bigger. I think those are the things that's going to grow. I think the linear TV days are over. It's now going to be digital, and it's going to be where it's going to be a slice of the pie. It's going to be platforms out there. People are going to get tired of paying a $100 cable bill. The average person is only watching 5 channels, and economy is driving everybody to the max to say, I can't afford this no longer. I got to get smart. So I think you're going to see a whole shift from a digital side to the technology changing, where you'll be able to be more selective on what you want to watch instead of being told this is what you have. And so I think that the cable guys are going to start taking a hit, down the road soon, because more and more people are going to these platforms. And you can just see that from the Netflix and Hulu's of the world. They're driving the shit out of those platforms right now. Where people can sit home and say, shit, I don't watch movies. I don't need to go to the theater no more. And that's why now all the movie companies are coming to Netflix and having first runs, and then say, oh, by the way, you can get in the theater on the next time. Okay? Because they can get it that way. That's how that world's going to change it. And I think that the biggest thing, and this is what I'm trying to echo out with us, is that we as African Americans, which we don't understand, is that we drive that curve. We can be 12% of the population, but we drive that curve on what you see and what you watch. We are the drivers. We stop going to movies, they got no business. Stop watching streaming stuff, you got no business. So we got
great points.
Fascinating.
Shout out to some of those folks that you talking about, Stephen, Bill, Z. They got down there and made it happen in the Bahamas.
Man. Oh yeah. I to this day, man, I thank all those guys, Curtis Symons and that whole crew, Clint Evans and all the guys that were part of that crew. My wife was even part of it. I drew everybody in to help out on that one. But that thing,
you really did.
that thing was incredible, man. I'm telling you, I think the biggest education that I took away from that is that I'll never try to move 600 people at one time. You try to move bands and teams and say, that don't work. No, that don't work. You got to have a better mechanism than that.
Tell everybody before we let you go about how to get HBCU Go TV in terms of downloading, streaming it, website.
Thank you, Dr. Kenyatta. So when we launch on September 3rd will be our pre-show. We're going to do a pre-show from from the Hall of Fame leading into the HBCU Hall of Fame game, which was Central State against Winston-Salem on Sunday. We kick off our season on September 10th with Albany State at FAMU at 6 p.m. You can pick up that game we're carried on Roku, we're carried on Amazon Fire Stick, we're carried on the app called sports.tv. We will be on the linear side with the Griot Network. We also covered on another app called Local Now, and we'll be on syndicated stations across the country, which will be covering about 60% of Black households. So, and then you can also go to our website and pick it up, which our website is hbcugo.tv, and hit the live button, and you'll pick up the game at 6 p.m.
Wow.
I just need brothers like you. I just need all you brothers supported. You know, that's all.
Yeah, you got them chiming in out here. Folks talking about they dropped their cable bill $282. They moving away from it. So, I mean, as you talked about, it's fascinating to see it.
It's a time where everybody's getting smarter, man. You know, and then I was part of that bloodline. You know, when I was with BT, and I always predicted that people were going to get tired of the 100-channel situations. You know, because when I used to do the research and have my research guys always beat up on me and tell me they're only watching 5 channels. And I said, well, it ain't gonna last forever. You know, I mean, you take the ride while you can and see what happens. You know, and fortunately for us, when the BT Live and ESPN,
that's so true when you think about it.
Yeah, it's very true.
You have all these channels, but how many channels?
How many channels do you memorize? Right,
that's true.
I mean, it's very true. You get
really excited, you might add 2 more.
Right. But you have your fixed channels in your head, and you can almost write them off what channels they are. Boom. You know, your program. So I mean, it's the real deal out there, guys. It's real.
Well, I thank you for your time. Certainly want to have you back when you have some additional news to drop in terms of this business. And so I appreciate you so much for providing that information. Yeah,
I love brothers like yourself, man. You and Charles, man. Need more of you out here to keep talking about it. You know, we need to keep pushing the HBCU button. I think there's a lot that can be said. You know, the new story that you guys should think about doing some more on. You know, Fisk University starting their first gymnastic program. You know, I mean, that's history. You know, you look at it. Secondly, you look at now, you look at the MEAC, Title IX, you got now almost, including Commissioner Sonia, you got almost 5 young ladies now that are ADs in the MEAC.
Yep, ADs, presidents, and we're going to have them on. We're going to actually have her on next Tuesday. We're scheduled to have a roundtable with Commissioner Steels, Dr. Banks, as well as the athletic director, to talk about what does it look like moving the MEAC forward and provide a different perspective. We want to make sure they continue to have a voice. So thank you for bringing it up. Perfect timing. As always, you always on that cut edge. We'll stick with this. We'll be right back quickly to kind of tie things up. Appreciate Mr. Curtis Symons joining us. We'll make sure we bring him back so we can take a deeper dive. So much to discuss and discover here. You can't really do it in an hour type show. But stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
One bite of 100% Angus beef ballpark frank, and you'll say, hello, summer. Oh yeah, it's ballpark season.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Oh yeah, that's nice.
Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on? Sure, it's wireless.
Pick something we all like. Okay, hold on.
What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password?
Buick Envision 2021.
Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable.
That's a really tight spot.
Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking.
Me too.
Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon. So now she's free to become Maureen the Merrier. Food is her love language, and she really loves her grandson. Like, really loves.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember they can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft.
Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more, but it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go, why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
This is Ryan Fulford. AB Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Lab. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Lab, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
That's a pretty tight spot.
Watch this.
Of course your Buick parks itself. That's so you.
It's just up here on the right.
Of course you know where we're going. That's so you.
Kind of got a sixth sense.
And a head-up display.
They're here.
Hit the field, warm up. You brought all these players in your Buick?
Yeah.
So you.
It is.
There's a Buick that fits your life because at the heart of every Buick SUV is you.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna love, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. You just heard Mr. Curtis Symons, co-founder and CEO of HBCU Go TV, in a lot of different projects. You heard a little bit about his background. I understand that he's just not a fly-by-night guy to putting this together. So hopefully this provided a little more information. We'll get him back to do some deeper dive. Was on the telephone and was able to get him in at the last minute. So I didn't get out and market it. But as we move forward, we'll take some questions from people out there in the space and see if we can bring them out and really get a deeper dive. But I wanted to give you a little more detail. I know there's a lot of speculation out there, a lot of people interested, rightfully so, but I wanted to share people that are deeply involved, that have a history, to show you a perspective that you may not get just listening to some social media framework, and people like myself that are just telling you information that you can hear directly from the people involved. So wanted to share that perspective. Before we tune out though, Charles, I want to get your thoughts.
You talk about a phenomenal interview with a true innovator of the industry, and to pull the curtains back, if you will, and really understand even more on the business side with regards to HBCU athletics and television and where this thing is going. We keep talking about being in the midst of a renaissance, if you will, of HBCU athletics, and this is part of the renaissance, is the broadcasting of these games, and for HBCU Go to be a part of it is huge, and get that back story and get where we're going with this phenomenal interview.
Thank you for that. Great closing points. Stick with us. Thursday, as we'll get in there and we'll get on the defensive side. We'll have some discussion, as we said, about some of those top three players. We did offense last couple of weeks. We're going to tighten everything up and give you the defense. Look for us on Sunday. We'll give our first Sunday show that we start back out in the fall. We'll break down what took place on Saturday with some of these first games in week 0, particularly with the Celebration Bowl. See what everybody's thoughts on that. We'll take a deeper dive into the Celebration Bowl on Thursday as well. Make sure you join the other shows and platforms, as they will be getting into some of these games in terms of Brian and AD with Sports Wrap, ONG, Strike Zone, as they get prepared for North Carolina as they take that trip. Obviously, Florida Memorial, which will be partnering in terms of the broadcast there. That's Edward Waters and Florida Memorial. You can see a lot of that right here as we'll get discussing that. Obviously, on Saturday, as you get ready to get into the stuff, we got Game Time. We got Carlos Brown at his show. So continue to share with us these platforms. BJ Jones will be coming back and joining us as he starts up his Sunday night shows in regards to the football platform. So stick with us. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Hope you enjoyed our guest today, Mr. Curtis Symons. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Ville's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. We look forward to next week as we will have the commissioner of the MEAC back on. But before we do that, check us out on Thursday as we give the latest news in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DrKenyatta-Cavil. That's DrKenyatta-Cavil on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube is Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you continue to check out the pregame show as they start to lather up, get you ready as they're going to take you down to Miami, where it should be fascinating and fun. That's a couple of weeks away, so we'll tease it out a little bit, but check them out. They'll give you some behind the scenes ways that you can't get anywhere else. Dream big, continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Roy?
Lecture.
Dismiss.